Hello and welcome back to the AHF. On this article I'm going to be discussing the division within HEMA, and by that we mean the division of gender, sex or age. There are all ways that you can divide fighters up, and you could also do it by sort of qualification. For example, some systems will do it according to sort of belts and things like that. And how you divide people up into their sparring or their tournament sort of settings, so when they're doing something a bit competitive as a general rule. Now, there's been a bit of controversy on this subject over the last year that I've seen, and in particular, it's been on the gender side, down to the fact of transgender fighters going into tournaments, and people are arguing about whether they should go into, the male tournaments, or open tournaments, or female tournaments, things like that. Okay, I'm going to give you an overview as to how we do it in the HF. There is no division whatsoever. You have to be an adult to join our club. Beyond that, there is no restriction. We don't divide people in any single way. And the reason we do that is because we're not doing a sport, we're doing a martial art, and life isn't always fair. This is a martial art, you're training to actually defend your life, even though we don't have to anymore. That's the whole point of swordsmanship for a martial purpose. So you go out into the street and you get attacked by somebody who's 10 inches taller than you, or 50 pounds heavier than you, or, 10 years younger. That's just life. So that's something you have to accept. There are certain advantages and disadvantages that you have in a fight. So we do not have any division in terms of age, weight, qualification, experience, nothing whatsoever. And in terms of the subject overall of should you have sort of gender-specific tournaments, for example, and weight and height-specific, I'll go on to the height and weight issue initially, which will normally be weight classifications. Now, if you look at most sort of martial arts, or sort of fighting arts, if you like sort of boxing, you will have weight classifications, and you can understand why. When you get into something that is purely hand-to-hand combat with no weapons, physical stature is of course important. However, with historical fencing, with HEMA, for the most part, most of what we do, weight is not an issue. It really isn't. Of course, there are certain advantages to height. Being a more powerful sort of fighter in terms of your stature will help you with grappling and things like that. But again, if you are shorter, if you are lighter, that's really your problem to deal with and counter those kind of opponents. So I would say you shouldn't be even thinking about weight classifications. Let's just go back and think about it in a kind of realistic scenario. You could have to fight anyone from any culture, of any age, any weight, any height, and gender for that matter. So, on to the gender issue. There is this issue of female-only tournaments. Now, of course, if women want to have female-only tournaments, who are we to stop them? It's not really our business. But I'll give you my opinion on this. Why are you having gender-specific tournaments? Now, beyond just you want to, which is a reasonable excuse, or it's not an excuse, a reasonable reason to do it, that's fine. But beyond that, what are you actually trying to do? Is it because you want sort of lighter contact levels? Well, I would say there are men who might want lighter contact levels. So there is an argument to having tournaments that are light contact, if you like. Although I suspect if you're going into HEMA, into this kind of martial art, if you're not liking the contact levels, well, maybe it's not for you. It is a contact sport. So, yeah, there is an argument for some lighter contact tournaments. But I'm not entirely convinced by this concept of the division of the sexes in tournaments. Men and women did fight historically. Of course, not as often as they would today because there weren't so many female fighters in most regions, although it's not unheard of, even in parts of Europe where we typically think of women not actually wielding swords. There were some examples. So I just wouldn't encourage gender division at all, and I wouldn't encourage weight division at all. So you can avoid all of these arguments and issues, and it can get pretty damn vicious when people start discussing this. You can avoid it all by just taking a simple approach of everybody is in it equally, and that's it. And that's our approach in the AHF. If you come to the AHF, providing you are an adult, you will be put into the main training with everyone else. You won't be treated any differently. If it comes to a tournament, if you want to get involved, that's your choice. You won't be given any kind of handicap or anything like that, or put separate into sort of different groups. No, we don't believe in it. So that's our opinion on division of weight and gender and things like that. We just don't believe in it. There you go, thanks for watching.